Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, March 4th, 9 a.m. It's a beautiful day. I hope you're having a great start to your day. We're feeling a little bit of the 80s rock party this morning. Today we're going to talk a lot about some sellers and buyers. We're going to talk about some objections. We're going to talk about communicating with sellers, potential sellers. We've heard a lot over this past week about what sellers want, about what the statistics are showing us of how sellers are communicating what they're looking for. And if sellers are telling us what they want and they're showing us what they're doing, how they're making selections, maybe we should be listening. So that's what the focus of today is going to be. In the first part, we're going to work over towards different points of connection because really this is not about leads. It's not about getting more leads. You don't need more leads. You need to be a better leader. So what you need to do is be able to make better connections and be able to lead people, be able to connect more with people, and eventually be the person that they go to for trust and transparency, because those are the top two things: communication, trust, transparency. Those top three things that people are looking for right now. So it's not that you need more leads. You need to be a better leader, make better connections. So that's what our focus is going to be on today. So let's go ahead and jump into our topics and tell you what we got going on. So let's first start with objections. Are sellers really giving you objections, or did we just not communicate clearly enough? Or are they just poking around? Are they just looking for the weak spot? Whenever we're communicating with a seller, they're just kind of poking around, seeing, like, they know this is a negotiation. What are you supposed to do in negotiation? You're supposed to ask for a discount. So what are they naturally going to probably do? Ask, well, I was just curious about this, about that. They have no more power than you do. They actually have less power. When you stand up for yourself, you're going to be able to command a higher value. Look, 91% of sellers work with the first agent they come in contact with. That means negotiation really isn't that much of an option. I would say 10% of the time, they actually go through serious negotiations, because 9% of the time they end up talking to other agents before they hire another one. The other 91% of the time, they go with the first agent that they talk to. So as long as you're able to communicate clearly and provide some very clear direction, communication, and value to them, if you're trustworthy, they're going to use you. You just have to show up better and different than everybody else is going to. And number one, 91% work with an agent, 81% work with the first agent they come in contact with. So they aren't just objecting, they're just following instinct. Instinct tells you this is a negotiation. We have to have communication. I have to ask for something. You have to ask for something. You're going to tell me something, I'm going to have to object to it, because that's what negotiation is supposed to be. And if they don't ask for a discount or ask for something extra or ask you to do something, the answer is always no. So just think of it like that. All they're doing is going through these reflexive responses that they're supposed to do in a negotiation. They're not actually thinking that you're less valuable, right? You're not thinking that you're less valuable. You're just thinking this is what's supposed to happen. And when you do what is supposed to happen in a negotiation, which is stand up for your value, and you've provided all the value and you've given them all of the information and you've set a precedence and you are trustworthy and you've connected with them, the natural response is always, after they ask and you say no, they go, okay, just thought I had to ask, right? It's a very strong, important factor that 91% work with agents, 81% work with the first agent they come in contact with. So the chances that they're actually talking to you and trying to negotiate with you to get the value down, look, don't you want to save 1%, $5,000? Wouldn't it be nice to keep $5,000 more dollars in your pocket? Yes. And are you probably going to ask? Yeah, you're probably going to ask, but when they say no, what are you going to say? Okay, just thought I had to ask. It's just the natural progression. You just have to understand that. And with all these new changes to buyer broker representation, 4% more sellers than last year, 4% more, for a total of 77% of sellers thought their agent's compensation was fair. 77%, the number increased because here's what my perspective is. With all the buyer broker compensation talk that was going on, where the sellers can negotiate directly with the buyer, now I'm not the only problem. I can align myself on their side. So now I'm your listing agent. I'm on your side. I charge 3% to be on your side. That's it. I don't charge 6%. Then I have to give 3% to the other side, and he's going to be against us. So why am I paying him? But you have to pay him because we got to. That doesn't happen anymore. Mr. Seller, you pay me 3% to be on your side. I am your advocate. I am on your side. You pay me 3% for my marketing, for everything that we've already discussed and everything I've shown you. And 77% of sellers said they think that that's fair. And that number is increased because, my opinion, because of those changes. Then when we start looking at, well, how many thought that compensation was fair or low? 7% of sellers thought compensation was low. They said, well, yeah, look, why would that be? And that was an increase too. That would be because I no longer charge 6%. I charge 3%. Oh, okay, that seems fair. We discuss the buyer agent side. We do all that, but that's not me charging it. The buyer agent, when they come to the deal, those greedy buyer agents, whatever the case is, those buyer agents, when they come to the deal, they're going to ask you for compensation. That's not me. I don't charge that compensation. They do. They're going to ask it, or the buyer's going to have to pay it. So they're naturally going to ask it from you. I charge 3% to navigate and negotiate through that process with you and to stand on your side. So 84% of sellers, so 7% thought commissions were low, 77% thought that it was fair. So 84% thought that commissions were fair or low. What? That is crazy. So we just had a meeting yesterday, but in my meeting, I stood up there and I asked, I said, who here, before I gave this statistic, I said, who here thinks that sellers think we charge too much? Nearly every hand went up. Nearly every hand went up, said, sellers think we charge too much. Okay, well, who's really creating this problem then? Is it our mindset problem or the seller's mindset? Because we have surveys and stats that show that 84% of them think our commissions are fair or low. We're the ones bringing that to the table. We're the ones who don't feel that we're valuable enough. So we go into the negotiations and the communications with the seller, waiting for the negotiation to come, waiting for them to ask us for that discount. And how many times does it actually come? If I asked you, please chat in a number, what percent of the time that you go on a seller presentation for a listing, what percent of the time do they ask for a discount? What percent of the time do you think that is? For me, I would probably say it's probably about 25% of the time, maybe. Most of the time, it's not even a discussion. It's, this is what I charge, here's what it is. Okay, not even a question. So are we the ones creating the problem by going into it thinking that you think I make too much? You're telling me that I make too much. The public's telling me I make too much. All the stats show them. The stats don't show that. The media may be doing that, and the lawyers may be doing that, and they may have created these lawsuits that say, well, you guys make too much and the sellers think too much. 84% of them think that it's fair or low. So what percentage of the time, 10% or less, we have online saying 10% or less, that it actually becomes a negotiation. So again, please remember, we are bringing that attitude to the table that we make too much money and they're probably going to negotiate it and they think we make too much. So just go into it with confidence. We need to walk in presenting all of our value, being trustworthy, being responsive, being honest, and delivering what we said we would deliver. When we go through all those parts of it, I would probably say less than 25% of the time, it's going to become a negotiation. Less than 25%, because 80 to 81% of them are going to work with the first agent that they meet, which means they're not going everywhere else and negotiating with a bunch of other people, which means that the negotiation is just a natural progression of what they feel happens in a negotiation because I have to ask. It's very, very simple. We just need to get out of our own heads. So telling a seller, another thing about objections, I was just talking with somebody, a couple of people in the last couple of days, and what it came across to me was we felt like telling a seller that there were things that needed to be done to their house was creating a rift and an objection from their mind, or we were afraid to tell them because of the feedback we thought we would get. That, well, I really wasn't sure. I didn't want to tell them, and I thought that it would, I thought it would be okay, and we just didn't want to tell them. So tell them that something needed to be fixed, or home needed to be painted, or curb appeal needed to be done, or landscaping, or staging, or whatever the case was. Think of this. 5% more sellers than in 2024 reported that they did at least one home improvement before going on the property and marketing. And this will continue to rise. Why? Because in a lot of our markets, our biggest competition in some cases, for most all of our markets, is new construction. You got to be the best looking one on the market. We've had more listings come on the market. When we have more listings come on the market, there's more supply. We've had demand increase, which has helped dwindle that supply down, but more listings are going to come on the market, which means we have more competition. We have to be the best. Plus, more agents are actually understanding that there's more to the job than just put it on the market. There's so much more competition. It used to be you could put it on the MLS. We didn't have to deal with all the market. There was no social media. There was no video content. There wasn't any of these things. Now there is so much of that. There's so much competition coming up against every single listing. You have to find ways to stand out, which means we have to be the best looking property, the most prepared property. We need to do the pre-listing inspections. We need to do the staging. We need to do the painting. We need to do all of the stuff that needs to be done prior to. We need to do the video content. We need to do drone videos. We need the 3D tours. We need to do all of those things to make sure that we stand out in front of the most amount of people. And the sellers are trusting us to be the advisor to do that. So it's not an objection. It's going to become an objection in a month or 2 months when you don't have the showings or don't have the offers, or you're not getting it in the range that you said it was going to, because we didn't do the thing we needed to do up front. So we need to have more of those conversations. Remember, sellers want us to be trustworthy and responsive, which means trustworthy means we're telling them the truth. And when you've built rapport, remember, what they want most is honesty and responsiveness, trustworthy and responsiveness. Be honest with me. Tell me the truth. Please tell me the truth. They're begging for the truth, but sometimes we feel it's hard for us to tell them the truth about what's going on inside of their home, inside of the market, and we just want to put the price up and we want to get it sold. Well, we need to be a little more direct with telling them the truth. If you've built rapport, if you followed the process through your pre-qualification, your preview, your pricing, your presentation, positioning it on market, you've built solid rapport. There is no objection because we've built connection. No objections because we built connection. If you use all of your skills and personality profiling and understanding and rapport building skills, you're not hurting their feelings when you tell them the truth. They may not like what you said, but they trust you. And trust is what they are looking for. Honesty is what they're looking for. Responsiveness is what they're looking for. So be quick to reply. Make sure you communicate very clearly with honesty and transparency. Make sure you're telling them the truth, because you never know. You never know the day that seller's going to wake up and need to sell that home. You never know what day that's going to be. They wake up and they're like, look, I just can't do this anymore. House has to sell. Well, if I've told them the truth and said, look, Mr. Seller, I know we're at 500,000, but we really need to be at 465 to generate that offer. And that's why we haven't had the showings. And we really needed to do this, and this. Remember, I gave you the list of things to do. And I understand that's a lot, but if you wanted the higher price, these are the things that needed to be done. And we didn't do those things. What if one day the seller wakes up and says, I can't do this anymore. All right, I'm finally going to listen to Chris. Chris, I'm going to go do all of those things that you told me to do, and I'm going to reduce the price. When we tell them the truth, they come to us telling us that, because they sit down and they're like, God, I can't do this anymore. This is just a waste. But if we don't tell them the truth, they're sitting there going, why is my home not sold? I'm not getting any feedback from buyer's agents. Make sure you tell them the truth, that there was a lawsuit, that now buyer's agents are hesitant to provide feedback because they don't want it to be a detriment to the buyer and end up getting sued. So we tell them the truth about everything. When you convey the truth, what do you say? The truth shall set you free. I told them the truth. I showed them the truth. I reviewed the truth with them. What do I mean by that? People are auditory, visual, and then kinesthetic. So make sure not only are you telling them, but you are showing them by providing them the information, sending it to them in some type of format, weekly updates via email, weekly pricing updates and recommendations and everything about the showings. Don't just tell them, make sure you show them, and then review it with them. Get on a Zoom, show up at their house and just review all the data and talk with them. That way you're sitting there in person. We've got to we have to make sure we're doing all of those, because everybody communicates differently. And I get phone calls all the time that's I told them. The agent is saying, I told them, but the seller didn't hear you because they're not auditory. They're more visual. They had to see it as well as hear it. It didn't hit home until you did that. So please make sure we're doing all of those things. And just a quick little recap. Win with first impressions. Be responsive. Show up very quickly. Make sure that you are replying very quickly. I just had somebody reach out 2 days ago, and this person says, I just sent a message through an app and said, we're interested in selling our townhome, and I know you live around the corner and blah, blah, blah. I looked you up, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, great. So I called them, and it was probably about 15 minutes, 20 minutes before I could get to the phone and pick up the phone and call them. And guess what they said? Oh, good. We weren't sure who was going to reply. We were about to send another inquiry to somebody else. Speed to lead. If I didn't get to that, they're going to somebody else. That person is going to get the interview. Then I'm already behind the 8 ball. So win first impressions. 80 to 81% of sellers are hiring the first person they come in contact with. Be that first person, show up differently, create rapport, build rapport. Reach out with more educational content. Our follow-ups need to be a little more meaningful. Make sure we're providing information, market updates, what's going on in their market, who came on the market, who went under contract, days on market, what's going on all around the overall market, the individual market, the small markets, because there is no real estate market, but we can convey information. So make sure we're giving educational content, letting them know changes. FinCEN, there's a new rule coming out with FinCEN that started March 1st. So let's just let them know, hey, by the way, if you plan on purchasing or selling inside of an entity, you might have a few other roadblocks that might pop up. Price. The only two things affecting the sale of real estate these days is price and motivation. Everybody likes to always say, what about condition? What about days on market? What about all of those are just objections that can be overcome by price and motivation. Your condition is bad. Good. Lower the price, it'll sell. The condition is bad. Good. Raise your motivation. You'll fix the problems, or lower the price to make it sell. Those are just objections. Price and motivation overcome everything. Those are the first things we need to make sure we address. Use the tools we have. We've done everything we can to give you every possible tool that you could use that's going to create a better online presence, personal presence, social presence, everything for you. So please use the tools you have and be clear about everything up front. Compensations up front. I charge 3%. Oh, that's a hell of a lot better than 6%. Your Mr. Seller, a buyer's agent, is going to charge 3% up to that as well, and they're going to request it in their offer. But I charge 3%. Be very upfront and honest with that. There was a recent lawsuit and said that sellers wanted the ability to negotiate with buyers directly, which is what is changing now, which is why I charge 3%. The buyer's going to bring us an offer, and they're going to ask for compensation inside that offer, which you'll be able to negotiate. And I've got my thoughts on that as well. We'll discuss that when it comes. Okay. What is the average life cycle of buyers and sellers? This is where we have to get better at. The leads don't suck. Forgive me, we do. We're not following up the right way. We're not touching base. We're not providing valuable content. We're not making sure that they're aware. We need to follow up better with buyers and sellers. Average life cycle of a buyer from the day they think about buying and decide they might buy till the day they actually buy a home is 18 to 24 months. So buyers are just thinking about it more. And with all the changes with interest rates and buyer agent compensation and the market changing and politics and everything else, they're just taking longer. 18 to 24 months before they make a decision. The average time a seller is thinking about it is 3 to 4 months before they actually list. So they're a little bit faster, but there's been an increase in the last couple of years to over 27% of them are waiting 6 months or more before they put it on the market. That's not a bad thing. That just means we have to be better. It's not about the leads. It's about our follow-up and our connection with these leads. You're going to get a lead, and you should automatically anticipate and expect 3 to 6 months minimum of follow-up before you get this lead into your pipeline to be able to be an active buyer or an active seller. And that's okay. If they want to buy right now, Awesome. I'm grateful for that. Thank you so much. But that is not the norm. You need to understand that it's not get a lead, get a contract, get a closing. It's get a lead, follow up with that 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 lead. We have to be scheduling prospecting time, 10 new contacts a day, and follow up time, maybe an hour of follow up time every single day. So we don't miss out on our sphere who hasn't decided if they're going to buy or sell yet. But when they do, we'll be the one. We don't miss out on the leads, the hot leads, the cold leads, anybody that's gotten in our database. And then we need to create some new prospects that we keep following up with. So that's what this looks like, this follow-up time. What it means to me also is that we have buyers and sellers in your pipeline right now. If they're waiting 3 to 4 months on seller side, 18 months on a buyer side, they're in your pipeline right now. They are your friends. They are your family. They are your neighbors. They're the kids' parents on your soccer team, your football team, your baseball team. They're the people that you see at Publix, the ones pumping gas, the ones at these events, the things, places you go and the things you do, the family events. Those people are the ones that are going to be buying in 3 to 6 months. How do you know which one they're going to be? My crystal ball is broken, so I can't predict it. So I need to make sure that I'm the one that is in contact with them, in front of them, and I have their awareness of who I am. So when they do decide that I'm the person that they choose, my business cannot be built on hoping that they remember who I am, hoping that I'm the person that they choose. It needs to be built on action, scheduled, planned action, action taken every single day for a new prospect to bring into my pipeline or a current person in my pipeline to be followed up with. That action needs to be scheduled. You need to create contacts. You need to find the buyers and sellers now before they need you. It is an absolute must. So where do we find these buyers? Where do we find these sellers? How do we do it? Very simple. There's so many places for you to look. Go to Beckens University under the Prospecting Hub. Tons of content in there, tons of scripts and nice videos telling you where to go, how to do it, what to do it, role play section for how you can role play with each one of these. But let's just talk about a few of them right now. If you needed a buyer in the next 7 days, where would you go? Do me a favor, if you needed to find a buyer in the next 7 days, type in the chat where you would go to find that buyer in the next 7 days. I don't care if you steal it from the screen, but where would you go to get a buyer if you needed one in the next 7 days? I'm going to go to my pipeline. Remember, I told you buyers are 18 to 20 more 4-month life cycles. I need to be talking to my pipeline. Who do you know? 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 What am I going to say to them? What am I going to say to them? I've got tons of touch points to say, hey, do you know new builds in our area are offering 3.99% interest rates? That means you don't have to wait for rates to be in the fours because we've already got them. It could mean that you can afford up to $100,000 to $150,000 more because of that interest rate reduction that they're giving you. Do you want me to send you a list of communities that are offering this? Hey, I was just curious. Are you still renting? With the rates and rate softening and programs that I've got available, it might cost you less to own now than you think. You want to do a quick comparison? Hop on a call and chat about it. I've got some great down payment assistance programs. I've got some communities giving rates in the 3%. Just curious, you want to have a conversation about it, or are you comfortable paying your landlord's mortgage? Hey, do you have anybody sending you any great deals that are around right now? I've got some great listings that just had price reductions this week. I've got some great new incentives from the builders and some awesome down payment assistance. There's a lot of sellers that are motivated. Do you want me to send you some of these top deals, great deals before they're gone? These are the things you're just going to say to your pipeline. Hey, man, I know you've been on the fence. I know we talked about it in the past and you've been renting and you've been kicking it around. You want to hop on a quick call? Let's just talk game plan to see what that might look like. I mean, even if you're 6 to 12 months out, it might make sense to get prepared now. You know, I got a guy who actually just saved $30,000 because he talked to my lender now rather than waiting till he was actually ready to buy. We found a way to keep $30,000 in his pocket in down payment, as well as save him monthly payment, lower interest rate, and less money paid to the lender over time. You know, there's tons of things to talk about with them. Tons and tons of things to talk about with your buyers. Let's go back and talk to where else are we finding buyers. Still don't have anybody that chatted in where you're going to find buyers. If you needed a buyer this week, where would you find that buyer? Chat in. Where would you go to find a buyer? Calling all of your pipeline. Hey, who do you, and if they're not interested in any of the things I just said, Who do you know that would benefit from one of these things? Do you know of anybody? Who do you know that would benefit from having a 3.99% interest rate? Who do you know that would benefit from potentially buying a home with little to no money out of pocket? And I know it sounds too good to be true, but it's really not. Let me get you on with my lender. Let's chat about it. Database, absolutely. Sphere of influence. Rental group on Facebook, absolutely. Go to rentals and go to apartment events inside my network, absolutely. Apartments, there's tons of apartments. Do an every door direct to a mail carrier route that goes to apartments. Put in something about down payment assistance or rates in the 3% with qualifications. Send them out. Go knock on doors in the apartments. You'll get kicked out a couple times, but hey, you'll get a few contacts before you do. Go to the leased properties in MLS, leased. The rented out properties in MLS from 6 months ago. Anything that got rented 6 months ago, there's going to be a renewal coming up in 6 months. Remember, buyers take 18 to 24 months. If we start talking to them 6 months before they're under their rental, we might be able to catch them and get them prepared or set them up for the next renewal whenever that one comes around. So we need to have these clients. We need to have these conversations. Buyer seminars, down payment assistance seminars, new construction buying seminars, lender partners. Do you know that new construction partners are a thing too? When we looked at where the buyers got their referrals from, the number was between 3 and 5% were from the new construction community that they were buying a home in. That's where the seller got a referral from. A seller got a referral from the new construction community member to list their home for the home they were buying. Lender partners, new construction partners, open houses. Open houses are a great opportunity to have conversations, especially about the buyer broker agreements that we have going on right now. You just need to have more conversations. Get in front of more people. Find an open house that you can plaster everything with signs to get the most amount of foot traffic through and have conversations. Get them into your pipeline and follow up with them. Sellers, where are you going to find sellers? If you needed a seller by the end of this week, where would you find them? Me, I'm going to expireds. If I needed a seller in the next 7 days, I'm calling expireds. That's it. I'm literally going to expireds. I'm going to call them all day long until I found one that wants to list with me and interview me, and I'll put their property on the market. And I'm going to tell everybody about their property that just came on the market, do it just listed in their neighborhood, door knock in their neighborhood, tell all their neighbors about the home that just came on the market in their neighborhood, and then keep calling expireds until I sell that one and get another expired. I'm doing that. That's where I'm getting my listings if I needed them right now. Pipeline. Who do you know? And how are you doing that? What are you saying to them? Hey, Mr. Seller, I just saw on Zillow that Zillow says your home is worth XYZ. I've got my own thoughts on that. I was just curious what you thought about it. You know, I'm not sure what you're seeing in your neighborhood, but this real estate market around here has been on fire. Did you know that we just listed 10 homes for sale, 15 went under contract, and 15 sold just yesterday? Man, this market is crazy. Care to hop on a quick call and chat about it a little bit? Hey, school's almost out. If you're considering upsizing and relocating before the next school year starts, now's the window to make that move. Inventory's still low and buyers are getting more active, especially in your area. Hey, a home just sold around the corner from you for this price. Curious what that means for the home, for your home's value? These are just conversation starters to talk to more people in your pipeline, talk to more people in your neighborhood. We need to have more of these conversations, more directed, focused conversations towards prospective buyers or sellers, and then follow-up time after that to make sure we follow up with those prospective buyers or sellers over time. Where else are we finding sellers? FSBOs, farming, door knocking. These are all the places. We need to not be so afraid of the conversations. You are the trusted professional. You are the one that they're going to look to. You need to tell them the truth. You need to respond to them. You need to follow up with them. You need to be giving them valuable information. We need to continue on with this trend. I want to see next year's numbers continue to go up. Whenever they pull the statistics on sellers, I want it to say that 90% of all sellers thought that real estate commissions were low or fair. I want to see that the majority of all sellers valued honesty and trustworthiness. Those are the top things, and we're providing that for them. I want to see that every seller knows what it takes to sell their home today if they needed to make that decision. They may not make it now, but they need to know what needs to happen to make that decision. I want every buyer to know that you can buy a home potentially with little to no money out of pocket with a down payment assistance program and sellers closing cost concessions. And you can get into a home with little to no money out of pocket. I need every buyer to know that interest rates are in the 3s and 4s right now. You just got to know where to look. Do you have anybody sending you great, amazing deals right now? And if not, would you like me to get you on my VIP list and send them? These are the conversations we need to have. We need to create more. We need to create more. It's not just going to fall in your lap. Some of us have been blessed that things just kind of happen and just kind of pop into our lap, but we need to be bigger creators. We need to have more conversations. So that's the talk for today. Hope you guys can take away something from this. If you need help, we're always available. Please continue to show up, continue to show out, and continue to log in. And if you need anything, please feel free to reach out. Have an amazing Wednesday. Thank you so much.